Hello there YouTube, this is Wheelchair21, and on today's Rolling Review, it is the sequel to the Sengoku Driver, it is the Genesis Driver. Yes, we are going into the Genesis of Kamen Rider Gaim, and we gotta talk about those Energy Riders. And, in doing so, we'll take a look at Shin Zangetsu, because that's the Kamen Rider heavily featured with the Genesis Driver when you got the deluxe roleplay toy. The box art is freaking magnificent, because the Genesis Driver uses a beautiful red, silver, black design. And, well, you got Zangetsu here. He is just the most badass character in the show. And, honestly, it has a great scheme, fits my motif perfectly, because, you know, I'm a red-loving guy. And the back of the box shows you how you activate your actual belt. The other three Energy Riders, Lemon, Cherry, and Peach. Now, honestly, I never really paid too much attention to the numbers on the Lockseeds. But given how the show worked with, Duke, Sigurd, and Malika working together against, Takatora Zangetsu, I now realize that's why his was number 4, because, you know, Ryoma thought highly of himself. If people who have yet to see Gaim, Ryoma is Duke right here, which came with the Sonic Arrow. Too bad I never got that item, nor its reissue as a premium Bandai webshop exclusive, which came with the, I guess, Savior Lockseed, which was a part of the Gaim Gaiden. Now, the box also shows you that when combining the core from the driver with the Sengoku Driver, you have the ability to go to the Jinba form, which is shadowed out because at the time it had not debuted yet in the show. Now, let's get to the driver at hand. Alright, and when removing the Genesis Driver from the box, you get, like I said, the simple thing. It's just a fucking toy. Excuse my language. But you got that and a single Energy Lockseed. Now, some people thought that this was sort of a joke because you only got one Lockseed. With the Sengoku Driver, you got 2. And I kind of get what they were doing. There's fewer Energy Riders than there were, original Riders. So it was expected that they would want to find some way to market and produce ways to sell those other Lockseeds in the deluxe line. Now, let's look at our Lockseed first, since the driver is the main piece of the whole review. Energy Lockseed 04, which is the Genesis Melon, is pretty decent. It's what actually Urobuchi wanted to be Zangetsu's full form. He just wanted it to be the Genesis one, but Bandai said, no, you can't do that. You actually have to market a character first before we can introduce a brand new toy that's coming out later on. So, right there you know that Toei and Bandai have, like, a weird working agreement. They make the toys, they have to find a way to market toys in the show. So, the Lockseed does a weird thing. It's a clear color. A lot of the Lockseeds in the Energy line use clear, like you can see right into them. They're kind of reminiscent of how Gaia memories were, where you can see a lot of the internal workings and how, you know, the thing freaking is. You can see your batteries in the back. And it's pretty simple. The bottom, still, since it's a deluxe, it has a actual on and off switch. And it doesn't actually say its name. Actually, no, you don't say its name upon activation, so I got that wrong. But here we go. Now, that's one of the crazier things, is that Energy Lockseeds actually play their own little tune once activating, or opening, I should say, unlocking. And when combining, it will make its own special featured sound, and when henshining, but then shares the rest of the sounds when coming to squash and sparking. So, let's look at our belt. The belt is practically a juicer that, juices into its own little cup, and I find it really interesting that it uses a straw-based-like thing to make it look like you could actually drink from your belt, which is kind of funny since later on you find out that you can actually survive off of the fruit of Helheim if you had been connected to a driver. So it kind of makes sense, some of the jokes applied as to how the actual drivers do work in show. Now, the system works like a vice where you press into it, which has a weird jarring sound. This part here is usually the thing that a lot of people tend to hate about the toy and device, is that it makes this really weird cranking sound when releasing. And that's what it is and how it sounds, and it's very freaking loud. And it's not bad until you try to activate the sounds, when this just blasts over the effect. So let's turn our driver on, which the switch is on in the back, right here at the bottom, not at the top like the Sengoku Driver. So let's do that. Now the cool thing I gotta say about the Genesis Driver is the LED lights in the mixer part, in the juicer part. I love how there's at least 4 to 6 different colors: orange, yellow, red, pinkish, purple, and blue, I believe. Alright, now when activating the juicer, there is no basic lights or sounds except the meaning that it's trying to read something. Now, people are wondering, why the hell do I just have it on a turntable and basic black box? Well, that's the only thing I could use to actually prop this thing up. So let's quickly do our Henshin. Now, actually attaching a Lockseed into the core of the Genesis Driver is a lot tougher than putting a basic Lockseed into the Sengoku Driver. It's a lot tighter. Yeah, like I said, this can be kind of loud and screws up when you're trying to henshin. I do like the fact that the LED light stays on for a good 5 seconds after the activation, so that's really good. To get your sounds, you have to then swipe it a few times. So doing it once is, I believe, it's squash. Now I'm going to do it twice, and I'm pretty sure there is no OLED, it is just sparking. So as I said, they took out the secondary attack, kept in the first two. Not a big deal. I actually like squash and sparking more than I like OLED. OLED was just really stupid. I think it was just to do a pun and play on the fact that they're supposed to be foods and fruits, and, well, the whole thing about, I would say, the pastries with Bravo, because it was like they were trying to maybe hint at him. Anyways, that's not all we have for this review, since we have to combine it with our Sengoku Driver. And to combine it, one simply has to remove the core from the belt. Yep. And now we're going to just transition over to me attaching this to the dang Sengoku Driver. Now, once transitioning to the Sengoku Driver, you can see that the core replaces the actual faceplate of your belt. So I thought it was great to show the original Zangetsu plate, since this is going to be Jinba Melon form, which was never used in the show. I don't know why it wasn't used in the show, but nevertheless, let's see this thing actually do its magic, its hocus pocus, whatever the hell you want to do. And here we go! And there you have your Jinba form, which was actually mostly used with the other three, such as Lemon, Cherry, and Peach. Lemon was being the most frequently used throughout the series. When activating, the sounds are practically the same, whether it be squash or sparking. So let's check those out anyways. It's kind of convoluted, kind of interesting, kind of crazy, little whole wonky, I would say, wouldn't you think? Because as orange is echoing off, so does the melon shortly afterwards. So, I think in the show, though, it was more in unison than being apart from one another, But I think that's something that you have to deal with the toy. Not all the sounds can be synced up real well when the timing and activation works. So that's just, a trick of the trade, whether it be show versus toy. Honestly, for our final evaluation and evaluation time, I gotta say, once getting the Sengoku Driver and its sibling, the Genesis Driver, it's really a awesome pair. I mean, you got one way to evolve Gaim, and you technically got a new form for, Zangetsu. But you need to have other Lockseeds to do crazier combinations, whether it be with your Genesis Driver and your Sengoku Driver to become Jinba form, or just to have different lights and sounds activated on your actual Genesis Driver. I do gotta say that the Genesis Driver is the more expensive Henshin device in the toy line, due to the fact that it was, kind of short printed. It didn't have really many restocks in Japan. Its first official restock wasn't until just this previous December. So, people who got it in the first wave were technically lucky. You had to pay a pretty penny, about $60 to $70, depending on where you got it, and even more once it got to the second-hand market. The prices have gone down even before the reissue, about to its retail price again, but it still is highly more expensive and at times sought after just because you need the core for the Sengoku Driver. Luckily, because of the Gaim guidance, there were cores reissued in the premium Bandai line due to the fact Jinba and Energy Riders have been very, very reoccurring throughout them. Anyways, I do recommend that if you love Gaim, you should get the Genesis Driver, and I'm not saying you should try to get both drivers unless you're a huge actual Gaim fan or the character of Gaim himself, since he is your titular character. Nevertheless, you can find these toys technically on the secondary market, so check eBay, Yahoo Japan Auctions, Amazon maybe, and other sites that may actually restock them from time to time, since Japan, once in a blue moon, finds stuff in their old storage areas and ships them out to retail stores. That's how Mr. SFCS Toys tends to get some of the toys from previous shows. Anyways, I'm Wheelchair21. You can find me here on YouTube or over at HeroTaku.com, as well as follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'll see you next time with, I don't know, because I don't know what my schedule's going to be. Other than Doyle's DVDs is returning with Zyuranger later this month.